You know, usually when we talk about a battleground, there's this expectation of like a grand scale.
Right,
Like
yeah.
you read a history book and the historian points at a massive map and says, there it is. That's where the conflict happened. It's macro. It's super expansive.
Yeah, we're definitely conditioned to look for conflicts that are, visible from a distance. We want these sweeping panoramic landscapes where the stakes are just obvious to the naked eye.
Exactly. But then you step out onto a simple backyard balcony. You lean in close to a single potted herb, and suddenly that epic map is just completely useless.
Totally.
Because we're looking at a conflict landscape that is entirely microscopic. And today, your mission as a listener is to extract some massive ecosystem insights from a highly specific, hyperlocal source.
Yeah.
We're taking a deep dive into this quirky backyard balcony journal entry.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one.
It really is. It's titled Notes on Gardening, Part 977, and it's written by an author named Ang.
And just, reaching part 977 implies an incredible level of dedication to daily observation.
Oh, for sure. That's a lot of notes.
Right. And setting the scene here is crucial because this single journal entry, which was published on August 5, 2026, it manages to bridge botany, entomology, and microecosystem management all in just like a few paragraphs.
Which is wild.
It is. It's this really calm, analytical look at how a tiny, isolated space holds a remarkably complex web of life.
And as we get into this deep dives into the source material, we're going to unpack exactly what Ang observed, how they reacted, and why it completely flips the script on how you might think about traditional gardening. So let's just head straight to the scene of the crime.
Sounds good. So the primary targets in this balcony conflict are basil plants.
Okay.
Specifically, the source mentions two distinct varieties that are under observation. You've got common basil, which goes by the scientific name ocimum-basilicum, and holy-basil, or ocimum-tenuiflorum.
And right away, the journal hits us with a mystery. Because before we even see the culprit, Ang notes a really distinct difference in pest resistance between these two varieties.
Right, they aren't being targeted equally.
Yeah, they're sitting out there in the exact same environment, subject to the exact same weather, the exact same light, but they aren't being attacked the same way.
Yeah.
It's like installing two different security systems on identical houses in the exact same neighborhood.
That's a great way to put it.
You have to ask why the invaders prefer one house over the other.
Exactly. And rather than just guessing, Ang turns to technology to figure out who exactly is bypassing the security system.
Yep.
The author takes this opportunity to shoot these really detailed, close-up macro photos of the pests that are actively infesting the balcony basil. Because, before you can design a defense strategy, you have to clearly identify the invader.
You got to know your enemy.
Yeah.
And the visual description we get from these macro shots is striking. It gives you three distinct visual markers to look out for on your own plants at home. First, they're really small.
Very small, yeah.
Second, they have a very distinct pear shape. And third, they are this matte black color.
And based on those specific visual clues gathered from the macro photography, the author officially identifies the culprit. These invaders are black aphids, scientifically known as Aphis fabae.
Okay, so Aphis fabae, identifying them is obviously only half the battle. Now we need to know exactly how they operate.
Right, their modus operandi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So according to the text, these aphids have, quote, piercing, sucking mouth parts that they use to feed on the plant sap. Basically, tiny plant vampires.
Yeah, that's literally what they're doing.
Okay, let's unpack this, though. Ang makes a very specific point to note that these aphids are always found underneath the leaves.
Always on the bottom, yes.
So why exactly is that? If they just want the sap, why not sit right on top of the leaf in the sun? Is it just, like, to hide from birds, or is there an actual mechanical reason that's where the sap is easiest to tap into?
It's highly mechanical, actually, and it all comes down to plant anatomy.
Okay.
So the top of a leaf is built for defense and solar collection. It has this thick, waxy layer called the cuticle.
Right, which makes it shiny.
Exactly. That cuticle prevents water loss and protects the plant from the elements. But the underside of the leaf is much thinner. It's where the plant breathes through these tiny pores.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. Because the tissue is thinner on the bottom, it's significantly easier for the aphid to insert its specialized mouth part, which is called a stylet, directly into the plant's vascular system.
So it's literally just a path of least resistance.
Yeah.
The aphid is essentially bypassing the armor on top of the leaf to strike at the soft underbelly.
Exactly. And they aren't just looking for general moisture in there. They are targeting a very specific plant tissue called the phloem.
The phloem.
Right. The phloem is the vascular highway that transports the sugars the plant creates during photosynthesis. Now, what's crucial to understand about the phloem is that it's highly pressurized.
Wait, pressurized?
Right.
Look, really?
Yes, highly pressurized.
So the aphid isn't actively sucking the sap out like you would, drink from a straw.
No, not at all. It's actually much more passive than that. The aphid's stylet is essentially a microscopic hypodermic needle. Okay. When it taps into that pressurized phloem pipeline, the pressure of the plant's own sap forces the liquid up into the aphid's digestive tract.
Shut up.
Really? Seriously.
Huh?
The insect barely has to do any work. The plant is literally pumping its own lifeblood right into the invader.
Wow. Okay, that makes the symptoms Aang describes make total sense now. The journal points out that you should look for curling leaves with yellow or brown edges, along with tiny black dots underneath.
Right.
If the plant's internal vascular system is literally being depressurized by these aphids, of course the leaf is going to structurally collapse and curl up.
It just loses its internal support.
Yeah. And the yellow and brown edges happen because those outer extremities are no longer receiving the hydraulic pressure and the nutrients they need to survive.
Precisely. The tissue is basically being drained of its resources right at the source.
But, if we're looking at a single aphid, this tiny pear-shaped bug that just sits there passively letting sap flow into it, the actual volume of liquid it steals has to be just minuscule.
Oh, it is.
The damage from one individual seems like it wouldn't even register on a healthy basil plant.
And you're right. Individually, a single Aphis fabae is a negligible threat. It's nothing.
Right.
But the real danger to a microecosystem doesn't come from the individual appetite of the bug. It comes from their reproductive biology.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because the text points out that this infestation happens incredibly fast.
Alarmingly fast, yes.
And the reason for that speed is because they reproduce asexually. The source explicitly notes they don't even need male fertilization to multiply. It's like a sci-fi cloning machine.
It really is. This is a biological mechanism called parthenogenesis.
Parthenogenesis.
Right. And without the need to find a mate, the typical biological bottleneck for population growth is just completely removed.
Because they don't have to waste time pairing up.
Exactly. A female aphid can simply start producing exact genetic clones of herself immediately.
That immediately changes the threat assessment. But it's not just that she lays unfertilized eggs, right? Because the speed Aang is talking about suggests something even more aggressive.
Oh, it is much more aggressive. Because they often don't lay eggs at all.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Through this asexual process, aphids frequently give live birth to fully formed nymphs.
Gross.
I know, but the mechanics of this are astounding. Because it's a cloning process, a nymph is often born already carrying the developing embryos of her own clones inside her.
Stop. Are you serious?
I'm serious.
It's like biological Russian nesting dolls.
Yeah.
You don't just have one invader. You have an invader that is actively giving birth to pregnant clones.
It's a phenomenon called telescoping generations. The grandmother, the mother, and the daughter are essentially developing simultaneously.
That is insane.
That is exactly why the population doesn't just grow, It explodes exponentially. In a matter of days, a single aphid can generate a colony of hundreds, and they're all tapping into that pressurized phloem network and just draining the basil plant dry.
So if you spot just one or two on your plant, you have to assume an entire swarm is basically already on the way.
It's already baked into the equation, yes.
Which forces a very quick decision for a gardener. Because if I'm looking at a self-replicating clone army that multiplies daily, my instinct is immediate, total destruction.
Of course.
Sound the alarm, clear the balcony, bring out the big guns.
And Aang outlines the standard, immediate solution for exactly that impulse.
Right.
If you want to quickly eradicate them, the journal provides a remarkably simple organic recipe. It's just a mixture of detergent and cooking oil.
Just household detergent and cooking oil. No synthetic pesticides, just things you probably have sitting in your kitchen right now.
Exactly.
But how does that actually stop an insect? If they reproduce that aggressively, how does some soapy oil shut them down?
Well, it shuts them down mechanically, not chemically.
Okay, what does that mean?
So insects like aphids don't have lungs. They breathe through these tiny pores on the sides of their bodies called spiracles.
Oh, so the oil essentially acts like an oil spill coating a bird's feathers.
That's exactly it. When you spray that mixture, the oil coats the aphid's body, and it completely clogs those spiracles, suffocating them.
Wow.
And the detergent acts as a surfactant. It breaks down the surface tension of the oil so it spreads evenly over the insect, and it also degrades the insect's protective outer waxy layer.
So they can't breathe and their armor melts.
Essentially, yeah. It's a highly effective, targeted mechanical eradication.
That's a brilliant, really accessible fix. You identify the threat, you understand the biology, and you deploy this targeted mechanical solution.
Yep.
But this is where Ang's journal takes a hard left turn.
It really does.
Because after providing this perfectly rational solution to wipe out the pests, Ang reveals a completely counterintuitive approach to managing the balcony. He doesn't spray the detergent and oil.
No, he doesn't.
He actively keeps the aphids around.
The journal explicitly states he kept them around to evaluate how his myriad plants react to them.
See, I have to genuinely challenge the logic here.
Go for it.
If you know you have an insect capable of telescoping generations, where they are literally born pregnant with clones,
Yeah.
and you know how to easily suffocate them with kitchen supplies,
Yeah.
just watching them feels incredibly irresponsible.
It sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. Aren't you risking every other plant on the balcony? And worse, aren't you risking turning your balcony into like a launch pad to infect your neighbor's plants too?
It's a completely fair critique, and I'll say in a large agricultural setting, leaving an uncontrolled aphid population is essentially ecological negligence.
Right.
But context is everything here. We're talking about a highly isolated micro-ecosystem, a balcony garden.
Oh.
Ang is making a calculated trade-off. By accepting the risk of damage, he gains invaluable localized data.
Ah, you mean the difference in pest resistance between the common basil and the holy-basil that was mentioned at the very beginning?
Exactly. Think about it. If he instantly sprays the detergent and oil the moment he sees an aphid, he learns nothing about the inherent resilience of his plants. By allowing the population to exist in this controlled environment, the balcony transforms from a simple garden into a living laboratory. Right. He can observe the natural dynamics. He can see if the holy basil possesses a structural or chemical defense that the common basil lacks. So he is prioritizing deep ecological observation over maintaining a pristine, visually perfect crop.
Okay, I can see the value in shifting from just a gardener trying to, grow dinner to an ecologist studying a microenvironment.
Exactly.
But it takes a lot of restraint to watch those basil leaves curling and depressurizing and just take notes instead of reaching for the spray bottle.
It takes immense patience.
But the journal doesn't stop at passive observation, right? Ang eventually intervenes, and he does it in a way that goes way beyond eradication or observation.
He finds a third path, which demonstrates this profound understanding of ecosystem management.
Yeah.
According to the text, Ang harvests the black aphids and uses them as an organic protein source to feed his fishes.
His guppies.
Specifically his guppies, yes.
He harvests the clone army to feed his fish. I love that so much.
It is a perfect execution of closed-loop thinking.
Let's really trace the mechanics of this because it's just brilliant. We start with this aphid using its hypodermic stylet to drain the sugars from the basil plant, right?
Right.
The aphid is turning plant sap into insect biomass. And normally, in the wild, a population explosion of aphids would attract a predator, like ladybugs, to balance the equation.
Yes, nature finds a way to balance.
But on an isolated balcony, those natural predators might not arrive in time.
So Ang steps in and assumes the role of the apex predator himself.
Yeah.
But rather than just killing the aphids and throwing them away, which breaks the nutrient cycle, he redirects that biological energy.
He feeds them to the guppies. The plant's energy is converted into aphid protein, which is then converted into fish food. So what does this all mean?
Well, in ecological theory, particularly in frameworks like permaculture, there is a guiding principle that waste equals food.
Waste equals food.
Yes. In a perfectly balanced, closed-loop system, there is no such thing as a pest or garbage. Everything is an input for something else.
So an aphid isn't inherently a bad thing.
Not at all.
The concept of a pest only exists because the bug is consuming a resource we want for ourselves, in this case, the basil.
Right. It's a human-centric label.
But when you zoom out and manage the entire ecosystem, the aphid stops being a pest and starts being a highly efficient machine for converting unusable plant sap into high-quality organic fish protein.
That is the exact paradigm shift the author achieves. There are no pests, only misallocated resources.
Wow.
By manually transferring the aphids to the fish tank, Ang closes the loop. The nutrients stay within the balcony ecosystem. It's this elegant, sustainable solution that treats the balcony not as a collection of isolated pots, but as a single interconnected organism.
It really changes the way you look at your own surroundings. Like if you have houseplants or a small garden and you see something going wrong, your first instinct is usually destructive. Like, how do I kill the thing that is ruining my aesthetic? But Ang's journal teaches us to step back, understand the mechanics of what's actually happening, and ask if that energy can just be redirected.
It's a complete masterclass in synthesis. And as we wrap up this deep dive into part 977 of Ang's notes, it's worth summarizing the sheer density of information we pulled from these few paragraphs.
Yeah, let's recap. We started by identifying the invaders, those small, matte black, pear-shaped Aphis fabae that completely bypass the waxy armor of the leaf to attack the vulnerable underside.
We analyzed the mechanics of their feeding, how their specialized stylids tap into the pressurized phloem of the basil plant, literally depressurizing the leaf and causing those signature curling, yellowing edges.
And then we unpacked the terrifying reality of parthenogenesis and telescoping generations.
The nesting dolls.
The nesting dolls. The fact that these invaders don't even need a mate to explode their population, giving live birth to clones that are already carrying clones. It's biological exponential growth in real time.
We covered the mechanical remedy of surfactant, detergent, and suffocating oil, too.
Right.
But most importantly, we explored the ecological wisdom of restraint. We saw how Ang transformed a balcony into a laboratory to observe natural resistance and ultimately acted as a micro-ecosystem manager by closing the nutrient loop, turning a sap-draining infestation into a sustainable, organic guppy buffet.
It's incredible. You read a title like Notes on Gardening, Part 977, and you assume you're going to get some basic advice on, like, how often to water a fern.
Exactly.
But packed into those lines is a profound lesson on structural biology, population dynamics, and permaculture.
The depth is there if you know how to look for it. And before we go, this raises a final, really fascinating question for you, the listener, to mull over.
Oh, I love these.
It's something that builds right on the very first observation Ang made in the journal, but pushes it a step further.
Right, the difference in pest resistance between the common basil and the holy basil.
Exactly. We know that these two plants were in the exact same environment, yet the aphids preferred one over the other. We also know that aromatic herbs like basil are packed with powerful chemical compounds, essential oils, and terpenes, which is what gives them that incredible smell and flavor.
Wait, are you saying the flavor is the defense mechanism?
Think about it. Plants can't run away from predators.
Sure.
Their only defense is chemical warfare. The compounds that make holy basil smell and taste so distinct, like eugenol or linalool, are biologically designed to deter insects, either by tasting toxic or by confusing their olfactory sensors.
Oh my God.
So what if the very chemical compounds that make certain herbs taste so incredibly complex and delicious to humans are the exact same defense mechanisms designed to repel pests, like the black-arphid?
That is mind-blowing.
Our entire culinary preferences, the very things we seek out to season our food, actually shaped by a plant's ancient microscopic war against insects.
So every time you make a batch of fresh pesto, you aren't just tasting an herb. You might literally be tasting the residual weapons of a plant's chemical defense system.
Pretty much.
That is an absolutely brilliant thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this exploration shifts the way you look at the tiny, complex ecosystems operating right outside your window. Keep questioning the mechanics behind what you see, keep observing the loops around you, and keep diving deep into your own sources. We'll catch you next time.